This reading is for Brandy. Today we are going to look at the outer planets' influence, the aspects that are heavily present in your natal chart, and then you'll see that there's another wheel on the outer part, and that is the transits going on that they speak to the planets of your natal chart to decide what type of opportunities you have or areas to expect, to challenges in the moment. I think what we're going to try first here is to just continue off of your chart that we were looking at last time. And now we are going to look at the next planets in line here. So we had stopped at the little three, and we completed before that the big three. So we had to look at your personality, what motivates you, what are some key points in your consciousness that you're aware of, and then some subconscious motivations that maybe you're not always aware of. But now that we have that kind of internal awareness, we can look to the outer. And the outer is going to be the planets of Jupiter, Neptune, and Pluto. And these are opportunities or our guiding forces that help us or challenge us to achieve lessons that we ultimately are here to learn. So I like to start with Jupiter because that is going to be where you're just naturally lucky. And I know that's an oversimplification of that planet, but it's somewhere that you're able to just kind of roll the dice, take chances, and you usually have good fortune because of it. And when we don't have this willingness to accept and be open to that opportunity, sometimes it is doors shutting in our face. So we really want to listen to Jupiter, know where this is, and then trust that this is where we need to take chances for growth, and we will be rewarded in return for this. So for you, your Jupiter is in 0 degrees. That's what we call a critical degree. This is a new experience for you. So in the sign of Gemini in the 8th house, you have this opportunity to embrace this whole new level of consciousness, the Gemini energy. So Jupiter wants you to find this in another person because our 8th house is all about what we are merging with another person that we deem worthy. So the 7th house is partnerships. Then the 8th house is once we find that partner, the even deeper next level. It's a new intimacy, and it's a merging of resources and a merging of souls. It is everything in life that is deep to us. It's meaningful to us. It's often related to occult studies, a spirituality, crossing the veil to uncover hidden truths about past family members, or it could be the inheritance that you receive either through tangible or spiritual ways. So this is the planet that gets our attention, and the house that you want to pay attention to is Jupiter, or excuse me, the 8th house. So what we're saying is through communication and curiosity, through mental alertness, you are here to find out deeper meanings and deeper connections in your life, which I think makes sense here because it's not something that maybe you will feel totally comfortable doing because all your first house energy, you really have a lot of energy focused on learning who you are. But this is to help that. Jupiter is saying, well, be willing to go to deeper levels of understanding of other people in your life or other areas of interest. So sometimes to me, this means that maybe there was something cut off in you or molded into what someone expectations were for you, but maybe you have this insatiable mental interest in some like occult study or spiritual study, or like maybe otherwise not super like mainstream interests, maybe like crisis counseling, or like you like to watch the crime shows, or the crime scenes, or detective work. It's something like that where I think it's this mental interest because Gemini is a very mental energy and Jupiter can't get enough. So it expands that house. So you might just have a variety of interests and things that aren't super accepted or normal, quote unquote, in our society. But it's a critical degree for you. So it is important for you to still look into those things. And it doesn't have to be that. That's me. That's a shot in the dark I'm just taking here. But it could just be spirituality in general, mediumships. You actually have, as we do the second part to your reading, it's so interesting to me because you have so much spiritual energy. And you really don't notice that in the first part because your mental energy is so strong. But look at all these places, your 12th, 4th, and 8th house. They're all full, or at least there's a planet present. So now I'm being drawn into this other side of you where you have these interests in things that sometimes don't get the spotlight because you have a very busy mind. So here we're entering a new level. Jupiter's pulling you into this world of spirituality and in the same energy that you can relate to. Gemini is very relatable to your Libra air energy, and your Libra or your air sign energy is the most common one of your inner planets. So it's using that as a gift for you. Study whatever it is that you're interested in and have multiple things that you're interested in and feel free to learn about that. And it doesn't have to be something that is definitely going to be profitable, but somehow Jupiter is blessing you when you do that because that is what happens here. You'll learn something and then you'll find that you're actually interested in more than that. And Jupiter's going to keep pulling and diving you deeper and deeper into whatever you're willing to go. And it brings you many opportunities. Jupiter's all about opportunities when you trust it. And then 0 degrees, it's a new feeling for you. So definitely explore that because that is something that you're going to feel good about and you're going to have opportunities with. When you say anything about there's any type of struggles or if you feel personal changes going on in life, I always like to look where Jupiter is because that's where we just sometimes overlook and miss out on all of these great blessings that could just come. So it could even just be stress relief or keeping your mind busy on something else. So contemplate on that and see what you come up with. Now we're going to move to Saturn because in your chart, you have an actually good Saturn relationship to your sun. So we have a sextile here between your Saturn and your sun, which is great because when I think you mentioned something about struggles, with authority at work or just maintaining relationships with the higher ups, I always look to Saturn because I think, well, that is where we sometimes feel these overbearing authority figures in our life that you just can't shake. Wherever you turn, it comes up, it comes up, it comes up. Then I look at your chart and I see, well, you actually have a blessing there. So you have a sun sextile, your Saturn. And I know we're not talking quite about aspects yet, but it's worth saying because this makes that Saturn Leo energy more bearable. So this is somewhere that in your 10th house of career and vocation, highest potentials, earning, following your career path, there is a natural restriction because Saturn always restricts us first. But it's in the house that it likes to be in. Saturn rules the 10th house. And so to me, that's saying it's not always an easy climb to the top. And sometimes that means that it's a later in life climb to the top. Because if you look at a wheel chart, you can divide it into quarters. And this is in the last quarter, right? 10, 11, and 12 are the last quarter of the soul's evolution of this lifetime. So that means that you're looking more towards at least midlife before you're really seeing the fruits of your hard labor. And I know then how am I sounding excited about it? That seems counterintuitive here. But what the point is that because as you learn who you really are through your sun identity, you're going to be ready to accept and acknowledge this authority in yourself that gives you this leadership push in the sign of Leo to embody that inner lion, if you will, of power and leadership. And it is the shining spot of your own career. So that's a lot to ask for of a 12th house sun who sometimes feels like they do better behind the scenes, or sometimes they feel like opportunities they don't find out about until too late. There's these things about 12th house suns having to being overlooked in public opportunity. And when you have a sextile to Saturn, it's saying don't give up there, because all of those themes of either missing out on opportunities, being overlooked for promotions, people trying to hide the light that you shine, the 12th house sun, sometimes other people will try to kind of dim you out, and they want recognition for your work, or they don't want to give you the opportunity to let you show your full potential. But with Saturn, it's saying, yes, maybe that is true. The 12th house sun, unfortunately, that can happen. But when Saturn is in your 10th house, it's saying, I still have big dreams for you. That is our outer planets of the universe's pool, source energy guiding you through lessons. It wants you to work hard, and it wants you to, over time, really build this light in you that leads you to the top. So no more behind the scenes. Whatever you wind up doing is a center stage energy. Leo is all about being the center of attention. Whether it really wants to be, it has to be. It is the creation light. It is the one that is on the front of the stage. It's not the director, it's the star. So that's where Saturn wants you to be going. And it is a later midlife position because it takes a lifetime to achieve. It's a very different energy than what you were born with. There's obstacles to face to get there. And that makes it all the more worthwhile, though, because in the 10th house, that's the boss, that's the master. And it has very strong, like, entrepreneurial energy, or at least top position energy. And no one just gets there that fast. But I think that's a good place for Saturn to be, in the aspect that, yeah, maybe you've been restricted from it for a while, but because the goal is to get there and it be very meaningful and rewarding to you. It can be frustrating. Saturn can always be a little frustrating, but it's for a reason. Now we're going to move to Neptune, which is the little fork down here. And this one is also, which one, the aspects, it kind of molds together sometimes here. So you also have a sextile to your sun with Neptune. So when that happens, you have actually what we call a kite going on in your chart. But this is also a favorable position because it means that you have the ability to dream and imagine things that you want in life. And it can give you a sense of disillusionment when it doesn't work out the way you want it to. But it's again another pull to me, even though it's in the very physical, real house of the second house. It's in the sign of Sagittarius. So you might have like these very high ideals about life. And in the second house, it might be about what you want to own, what you want to be able to call yours. Or it might be these very like high values that you may hold, beliefs that you feel and that you really want to portray and live by. There's this spiritual energy of Neptune. And when it fuses with Sagittarius, which sometimes could be like religious dogma or high philosophies, it forms into someone who has very moral high ground. And, well, when you're high up there, sometimes you can be let down because not everybody feels that way. That is a generational planet. So a lot of your peers are going to also have that. So you might find that you do have the same beliefs as other people, but as it being an outer planet, it's more about the what is coming to you. So when your sun is in a sextile to Neptune, it's giving you these opportunities to dream big about things, and it's letting you know that things are possible. You can believe it to be true. It's a good manifesting position to have a sextile to Neptune of the sun. I can think it, the sun. I can dream it, Neptune. Neptune can help bring these things to you. And in the second house, it's a dream for security. But in Neptune, it can also mean that there was a sense or a lacking or an illusion of security. So sometimes you feel that you've really nailed down this income, let's say, second house. And then Neptune just, the wave comes in and washes it away. And then you're starting over. And this theme in the second house, it can lead to feelings of loss, because you don't ever really feel like you have this great hold or control over your resources. And that can be a little discontentment, triggering, because everybody wants to feel like they have some shelter, security, that they're working hard and they're making gains in the right direction for it. But now you've got Saturn in 10, which is a delay in this great career that you dream of. And then you have Neptune in the second house, which can kind of make your security, money, come and go. So both of those things can lead to career or work centered frustration, because everything feels out of your control, right? Those are outer planets. There's not much you can do about that. So I'm really holding on to this sextile feel, because they're saying the more that you identify with your sun, so the more you know who you are and you are solid in your identity, the more these outer planets are going to work with you and give you the positive side of those. The more you know yourself and take the right steps towards what you really want, Saturn's going to get you to the top. The more you really know what you value and what your spirituality is, the more Neptune is going to help you feel secure in that. But until we know those things, they're going to keep taking and moving, and they'll be in the driver's seat if you cannot be in. So we have to learn over time with this Neptune second house that, money is going to come and go, or I might not get that bonus that I thought I was. But in Sagittarius, I know that I'm free and I'm safe and that universe is protecting me. So it's not about always needing material possessions, as long as I know that I can trust that the universe always provides for me and I'm spiritually connected, then I'm going to be okay. So that's kind of the lesson that you're to learn here. It's a metaphysical energy in a very real house. So it's kind of a little bit of a challenging position here. It also means when you do get set up and you find security in a place, you might naturally do well being near the water. That's just a fun fact of where the Neptune is in a real planet house. Sometimes that can be calming for you. That'll give you a sense of serenity to be near the water. So the last one of your outer planets is Pluto. And this is important for a couple of reasons. Pluto is all about transformation, power struggles, authority, being oppressed, even becoming obsessive. It can be our dark shadows of what we don't really want to talk about, our addictions are. In the 12th house, Pluto takes on this level of being like overpowered by other people. And when it's in a conjunction with your sun, it could be even more feeling like that. Because when Pluto and the sun combine, it becomes this very like magnetized energy, and it's on your ascendant. And it's in the 12th house. Now we're going to wrap all this together. So what that looks like in real life is somebody who has so much power that they give off this supercharged magnetism vibe to people. first impression. People look into your eyes and they feel this power coming from you. And it can be intense. And as soon as you start speaking, maybe you lean into the Libra and you know how to socialize and you know what you want to say, and it can or cannot go, in your control. But the point is that it's in the 12th house. So I'm thinking there's this level to you that you're not fully aware of about the impact you have on people, especially authority figures. So when somebody, let's say boss, meets you, you might have not even said a word yet, but you have a Pluto conjunct the sun, conjunct the ascendant. So as soon as they meet you, they know that you're a very powerful person. And that vibe is scary if you're the superior, right? Because now you have an inferior uh, partner and they have more power than you. You already have this very heavy influential side of the chart, the left side being full. So this, without even saying it, people are going to feel that you're very influential. You can probably get people to follow your side. You're well spoken with your mental Mercury energy. You have this like great instinct to act. So you don't take a long time to think about things with your Aries moon. And now you've got this Pluto powerhouse right on your energy that makes people feel like you're going to take over them. You're going to do things your way, and you're going to be willing to do what it takes to overpower them. And I don't know what you actually look like, so I don't know what your physical presence is like, but you have a lot of first house energy too. So you just are demanding respect, which is great. I think this is great, but it is also not the best place to have bosses because your chart is telling you that you were born to be the boss. But in the 12th house, you don't actually know that until later in life because a lot of people have already picked up on that and have tried to take it from you your whole life because that's just what happens in the 12th house. It's suppressed, it's given to others before you. It's something that maybe even when you're a child, people tell you, like, no, you can't always be, that headstrong. You need to calm down. You need to follow directions. You can't just tell everybody off or tell everybody how it's going to be. You need to know your place. And so people with that energy in the 12th house, they've been conditioned to not be aware of that or to downplay it. But Pluto is the outer planet. It's always going to come back and repeat this theme to you until you own it yourself. So, great thing is that when you put this power together and you bring it to the surface of your consciousness, you're actually really unstoppable. You have this force of endless energy. You could be obsessive on a topic or anything that you want to be, and you could be a master of it. And you could be challenged and win. You can stand your ground on anything. In the sign of Libra, it's a communication sign. You can use it to bring people together. I mentioned before that Libra is that bridge energy. It connects people who otherwise don't have any reason to be together. It's about balance and it's about seeing both sides. The great diplomat, the one who is like the politician energy, you know how to get the crowd excited and you know how to give people what they need to hear of hope, but of change. This reminds me of like Barack Obama. I'm not sure what his chart is exactly, but now he has a lot of Leo energy. But it's somebody who takes on like this powerful presence and in a way that people know they can trust because there's this spiritual energy behind it too in your 12th house. You have this natural, compassionate, or understanding energy, but in the body and voice of somebody who really can make change happen. So if you talk about any kind of authority figures not loving you or you having some conflict with that, well, that's why, because people don't really love that when they're face to face with it. These kind of positions sometimes do best when you just apply for the boss position, let's just cut the crap and you just go for the top. Because when you're in any subordinate position, it's not going to be the best as far as you have too much power to just stay back there. And I know it's your 12th house, so you kind of want to be, but it's going to keep giving you these control struggles with other people until you own the power yourself. So I hope that makes sense. Do you look at your transits right now? You have Jupiter. So Jupiter moved to Gemini. It's going to be here for a year. Jupiter just moved to Gemini. And when it does that, it's going to, I think it's June 9th, 2025 is when it is moving out. So you're going to have Jupiter in your 9th house of higher education for a while. So that makes me want to know, do you have plans to get another degree, or is there a certificate that you need to gain to move up? Is there something that is like an extra course or CEU or study training program, internship? Is there something you could do to really show these people who you are intellectually, because that's where this air energy is. Your mental energy is powerful. And in the transiting Jupiter, you have the luck and opportunity to use this for your own good. And you would be wise to think about that and just think, well, what could I do as far as expanding my knowledge to help this situation? Because Jupiter's always trying to help us. And you natally have that in your 8th house, but the transiting Jupiter has moved to the 9th house. So we need to think about, what can you do that is really going to help you own your power and bring it to the consciousness. And then that gives your sun a boost. And every time you feel more aligned with yourself, the outer planets, Saturn and Neptune, that you have these beautiful sextiles to, are going to give you more opportunities. I wanted to just go back to your moon for a second, because your 6th house is also where we look to about jobs. And when the 6th house, when we look at the moon, so the moon is always changing, right? There's phases of the moon. Well, when you have it in whatever house it's in, it can also mean changes. So a 6th house moon person might go through many changing jobs. And you have a lot of Aries energy in your transit touching your moon. So if you're feeling like all of a sudden you would rather just leave your job, start over, do something different, that might be why you're feeling that way. It's important when we talk about your transits that we're also talking about the Neptune, because when we took our outer planets touching our inner planets, is when the universe is trying to tell us something. So for you, the universe is cloudy right now. Neptune is transiting your 6th house, and it is a wide 5-degree conjunction, but still a conjunction to your moon. So when that happens, it's not the best time to be making decisions about jobs, because it is cloudy. You're being either illusioned or disillusioned about things, but there's confusion. And when we feel this confusion, sometimes we're not catching all the details. Sometimes there's relationships with these people. Coworkers is usually the 6th house. 10th house is more authority. But look at what you have going on in your transits right now. There's confusion with coworkers in Aries, in the sign of volatile emotion. So we need to let that pass, because you won't be able to make a clear decision about your job and the people you work with until that passes. And Neptune moves slow. It's an outer planet. and your sixth house is only in the first degree. So you actually don't have your seventh house start until the 17th degree. So unfortunately, that can be a few years of feeling that way. And while we're talking, I'm going to try to pull it up for you to see exactly when it is. But it is something that can lead to regrets sometimes if you're not actually um, doing it when you had a clear mind to do it. Okay, so let me see. I'm going to pull up this chart now because I can move it. So bear with me here. I'm going to resume my share. And what I'd like you to see is this calendar. We're going to try to see when Neptune actually moves out of your sixth house. So we are in 2024 and it is June. Let's say July here. Let's bring it back to 2025. So it looks like Neptune stays around the sixth house for a little while. Remember, because Neptune will retrograde too, just like all of them. So it looks like a theme that you're going through here. And sometimes that's not the most comfortable theme, but it's for growth and to give you insight into what spiritual connections you can be doing. So it looks like Neptune moves out of your sixth house in 2032. I'm not saying keep your job that long if you don't like it. I'm just saying that it's not the job. It is Neptune's going to be giving these not all the way clear pictures of things around the workplace, even in your daily routines, sometimes even health. So, not meaning that there's no negative predictive things going on here, but it just means that there can be some either overly romantic ideas about things, or, like you could wind up feeling like you have this love affair with someone at work, because Neptune can be like spiritual connection, loving feelings. But it can also be confusion about, well, what is like my trajectory here? What am I actually going to get from this job? And it doesn't mean that it's going nowhere. It just means that sometimes it's not totally clear to you. And when that happens, usually you don't want to make any major changes until at least you've really spiritually meditated on that, or you let it pass. Now, jobs are different because job is the sixth house. It doesn't mean career. Career is 10th house. So if Neptune was going into your 10th house, that would be longer of you having to really sit back on these career moves. But in the sixth house with your job, how serious is your job to you right now? Do you want to wait things out, or do you want to you have this innate moon, sixth house moon, that makes you always kind of be ready to change something at the workplace anyway. So things to meditate on is you have this like spiritual spark going on right now, and you can't even escape it at the workplace. So it makes me think that all these outer planets always want to get you back into some kind of spirituality. Neptune is not even going to give you a break at work. You might be having these conflicts with people right now because of what we already um, showed with all that Aries energy. But even so, when that passes, Neptune is still going to be this presence of something maybe bigger is calling you. So we'll see, but it looks like, we fast forward the clock so much here, but at some point you have a lot of energy in your career house too. So I think you're just moving. I think you have bigger things going on here. And I'm going to pull up the original screen now again. The bi-wheel that we were looking at. We'll pull that back up here. And this way you can see a little clearer. There you go. It's a little bigger that way. Your inner chart again. So ignore, this is still the transits for farther away, but I did want to touch on something before. We don't need to look at the 32 transits anymore, but I wanted to look at the aspects of your chart too a little bit more. So we talked about a couple of things. You had those sextiles, you have this conjunction, but you also have what's called a kite. So when you have a kite, you have a couple of different themes overlapping, and you kind of look to pull them together in a certain way. So for you, what makes like the rod or like the backbone of the kite is your sun to your moon. So if you can look at that, it kind of is a wider opposition, but it's a 12th house, 6th house opposition. I think this is important because it kind of goes with the spirituality theme here. It's like your 12th house of your dreams or unconsciousness is opposing your emotional nature of being in like the real world and being of service and usefulness and skillful. It's like this, it's still a healing access between the two energies. It's the houses of the 6th Virgo and the 12th Pisces. And these rulerships are being of karmic assistance. So your ego is on one end and your unconscious is on the other end, but it's still on that axis of healer. And there's this tension there because they haven't come together. They're kind of facing opposite directions. And the key is to form them to look at each other and balance. That Libra theme that you have of finding balance is, I think, saying, are we aware of the spiritual helping potential that you have that you would like to put out in the world, that it looks like these outer planets are really pulling you towards? And with the rod being these 6th and 12th house, and then you have the sextiles to make up like the triangle part of the kite, and then you have the outer planets talking to each other in this square of the Saturn and the Neptune. It's just a lot of energy about listening to these outer presence of Saturn and Neptune, of authority and spiritual guidance, and finding a way to use those two things to make both parties happy here in the spiritual realm. So it makes me think that when you have this great ability to communicate with others and you have this great powerhouse presence, you're using that somehow to make a name for yourself in society, with Saturn being in your 10th house at the top. And then you have this emotion, these spiritual needs to make you feel secure, that you need to spend more time with. And then that's going to make you feel emotionally secure in whatever it is that you do decide to do as far as work. And this kite then forms and it can fly freely when all of these needs are met. So we're trying to bring the spiritual and the physical world together here into something that's very purposeful to you. And it can be changing in what it looks like, but it has to have that same feel and that same drive. And this last aspect, because we talk about things too long, sometimes the point gets lost, but the ascendant here is squaring your midheaven. So your great question is who I am being reflected where I am? Is my highest position? You might have these opportunities in life to climb the ladder of jobs or just appease people and get promoted, and fine, like my boss is an asshole, but like fine, I'll smooth him over, I'll hold my tongue, whatever, I'll just grit through it and I'll get promoted and I'll be financially secure maybe. But at what cost? Am I being true to myself? And when you have so much energy in your first house and this whole inner dialogue about learning who you are, you really aren't going to be satisfied just climbing any ladder to the top. You're always going to be having this internal pull of, I don't want to bite my tongue and, you know, silence myself. I don't care who is the boss. If I'm not going to be who I am and be seen for that, then I'm not going to be here. It's not worth my peace. And that's what Libra is all about. We're trying to find peace here. It's not worth my peace to just take whatever. I need it to be meaningful. Cancer is the sign of the nurturer, of someone who is emotionally connected to the public, and how the moon rules Cancer. It doesn't always have to be the same one career, but it's the same feeling. I'm feeling connected and emotionally attached to my highest potential. So it cannot be something that doesn't mean something to me. And if I have to decline or come head to head with people who don't see my truth, then so be it, because I'd rather be who I am and know that I'm doing the right work than to just be following society's idea of success, because that's never going to feel successful to me. And I'm never going to feel financially secure in that. That's someone else's dream. That's not mine. You have to follow your own at any cost. And I feel like your chart, I'm sorry that I still have the 2032 up here. Let me stop that. But the chart here is saying that I think you would do well to do something that is more entrepreneurial than just standard being under someone else's thumb, because you could do, you know, background work for a while, but it's not going to be super fulfilling if it's not something that eventually you're taking the spotlight on. So we're going to have to deal with that at some point. And I think that at some point it's going to get more and more apparent to you, but it's not something that you need to not feel good about right now. You don't have to have all the answers today. You just need to keep in mind that what you're trying to do here is get to know yourself more, so that when opportunities present themselves, you're willing to take the right one, to make the right moves, to feel your spiritual worth and your emotional needs for being fulfilled. In the air signs, you're not always in touch with like super feelings. You know what's right, you know what the next right step is, but you need to pause and think, how do you feel? How do you really feel about that? Okay, I'm sorry, I don't know how long we've been talking here, but what I'd like to do lastly is look to where Jupiter and Venus are today. So today we have Jupiter, like we did already talk about, in the 8th house. So you actually are in your Jupiter return right now. So every 12 years, you get to go through what's called a Jupiter return, where you are going to be blessed with opportunities beyond your scope of anticipation. And it's 2 degrees wide right now, so it's not exact. It actually already did pass you, but it's still a great time. Whatever your spiritual calling is, look at all these planets in your 8th house right now. You're just packed with this potential to dig into some kind of psychic potential, mediumship, tarot, astrology. Oh, I don't know, any kind of spiritual energy that you are interested in. I would say take the class, find out. There's something else about you and this energy that wants to go deeper than just like superficial jobs. You want to do something super meaningful, even if you wouldn't advertise it right now. So that I want that to be the takeaway, because Venus is there too. And I always look in transits. Where's Venus and where's Jupiter? Those are the planets that are going to bring us luck and joy. So for you, they're both in the same place of the 8th house. So it's something that is more than just surface level, and it needs to be explored more and given more attention. And then it brings you opportunities. And then your nodes, your soul's journey and mission, that's what we're trying to accomplish here, is still speaking the same tune as everything else. Release other people's expectations of you, release your desire to be so involved in another person's well-being. And North Node, first house, come in to deeply getting connected who you are in the sign of Scorpio, emotionally, intimately, deeply, unashamedly connected to who you are. What a great mission to give all your attention to. I think those are great takeaways for the whole message of your chart. It's your destiny to feel completely at one with yourself. And unfortunately, a dark side of that is you have Chiron in your seventh house. So you're going to have people hurt you. And that is part of the deal. And you don't have to be resentful or scornful or revengeful, but you do need to acknowledge that Chiron's in 0 degrees in your seventh house. So it is going to bring people into your life to wound you, to heal you. So it's about learning more about who you are because of what your experiences with other people have done. So I feel like there's some kind of power, like connecting healer, like the pain that you've gone through with these people trying to tear you down or just be not on your side. You learn from that, and then you like somehow own yourself, and then other people can really heal from how you healed in this like deeper therapeutic way. So I'm kind of pulling the seventh Chiron, the first North Node, and then the eighth house Jupiter together here. I just feel like there's like this trauma counseling or something, or some kind of like metaphysical healing that you'll be able to do, but I feel like using your words. So I hope those are good things for you to think about, maybe latch onto if there's something there that you already know. And I hope that this reading has been helpful to you. I'll end it here. I know that was a lot. I'm not sure how we are on time, but I was happy to go back and explore if that wasn't enough. So my thought is, I hope that wasn't too much. If you come back and say, oh, actually, I'd like to know more about this, then that's great too. So let me know. I'm happy to do either way. And I hope that you have got some more clarity out of this reading. Thanks so much.